"I'm alone, can I join you?" A deaf woman signed to a single dad at a cafe, and his reaction changed everything. The cafe door swung open, letting in a gust of autumn air and a woman whose hesitant smile hid years of isolation. Across the room, a harried father struggled to manage both his laptop and his curious 5-year-old daughter. Their eyes met. Her hands moved in a silent question that would alter the course of both their lives forever. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us how a single moment of connection can change everything. Emma stood at the entrance of Riverside Café, clutching her notebook to her chest like armor. The familiar anxiety tightened around her throat as she scanned the crowded space. Sunday afternoons were always busy, tables filled with friends laughing, couples leaning into conversations, families sharing meals. Everyone belonged somewhere. Except her. 3 years since moving to this small riverside town, and she still felt like a perpetual outsider. Being deaf in a hearing world meant every social interaction required courage, patience, and often, disappointment. She'd grown accustomed to the awkward smiles, the exaggerated mouth movements, and worst of all, the moment people realized communication would require effort and chose to disengage instead. The aroma of fresh coffee and baked goods enveloped her as she stepped inside. Only one table remained empty, tucked in the corner by the window. Emma moved quickly toward it, relieved to have found a spot where she could sit and sketch for a while, her weekend ritual that provided both comfort and creative outlet. But halfway there, her path was blocked by a small child who appeared suddenly from between tables, a stuffed rabbit dangling from her hand. The little girl, no more than 5, looked up at Emma with curious brown eyes and said something Emma couldn't quite read on her small lips. Emma smiled and signed a simple hello, but the child only tilted her head in confusion. A moment later, a man appeared, his expression a mixture of exhaustion and apology. The father, Emma presumed. He had kind eyes, crinkled at the corners, and dark hair that curled slightly at his temples. He wore a faded blue sweater with patches at the elbows and carried a laptop under one arm. He said something to his daughter, then looked up at Emma with an apologetic smile. Emma pointed to her ear and shook her head, the universal signal she'd used countless times. The man's eyes widened in understanding. To her surprise, he didn't just nod awkwardly and turn away. Instead, he pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, and showed her the screen. "Sorry about that. Lily gets excited around new people. I'm Jack." Emma felt a small flutter in her chest at this simple act of accommodation. She took out her own phone and typed back. "I'm Emma." "No problem at all. She's adorable." Jack smiled, and Emma noticed the deep dimple in his left cheek. He typed again. "We're about to have lunch. Every table is taken except yours. Would you mind sharing?" Emma hesitated. Sharing a table meant interaction, potential awkwardness, the familiar strain of trying to communicate. But something about Jack's direct gaze and the open curiosity of his daughter made her nod. As they settled at the table, Emma noticed Jack's laptop was open to a document filled with numbers and graphs. Work on a Sunday, she thought. Lily arranged her stuffed rabbit carefully in the empty chair beside her, then looked at Emma with undisguised interest. Jack typed on his phone again. "Lily wants to know if you can teach her some sign language." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She nodded enthusiastically and signed, "Yes," while mouthing the word. Lily's face lit up, and she immediately tried to imitate the gesture, her small fingers clumsy but determined. For the next hour, as Jack alternated between working on his laptop and ordering food for them all, insisting on treating Emma despite her protests, Emma taught Lily basic signs: hello, thank you, please, rabbit. The little girl was a quick learner, her enthusiasm contagious. Jack watched them with a soft expression that made Emma's cheeks warm whenever she caught his eye. When Lily went to the bathroom with Jack's supervision, Emma noticed a photo set as his laptop background: Jack, Lily, and a woman with Lily's same curly hair and bright smile. Emma quickly looked away, feeling like an intruder. When they returned, Jack caught her glance and typed a new message. "That's Caroline, Lily's mom. She passed away 2 years ago. Cancer." Emma's heart constricted. She typed back, "I'm so sorry," knowing how inadequate the words were. Jack shrugged slightly, his smile tinged with sadness. "We're managing. Lily helps me remember joy. But it gets lonely." The simple admission of vulnerability struck Emma deeply. She knew loneliness intimately, had felt it in crowded rooms, in failed attempts at friendship, in relationships that couldn't bridge the communication gap. Without thinking, she signed, "I understand," then quickly typed it when she remembered he wouldn't understand. Jack studied her for a moment, then typed, "How long have you been deaf?" "Since birth," Emma replied. "I can read lips fairly well, but it's exhausting in noisy places like this." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "Is that why you were alone? Or am I interrupting your peaceful Sunday?" Emma hesitated, then decided on honesty. "Both. I come here to sketch sometimes. But mostly, I'm alone because it's easier than trying to fit into conversations where I'm always a step behind." Jack's expression softened. He typed, "Well, Lily and I are glad you're sharing our table today." As if on cue, Lily tugged at Emma's sleeve and proudly signed, "Thank you," with a beaming smile. Emma felt something shift inside her, a small crack in the wall she'd built around herself. When it was time to leave, Jack hesitated, then typed one more message. "Lily and I come here every Sunday. Would you like to join us next week? I could download a sign language app before then." Emma stared at the message, feeling a mixture of hope and trepidation. She looked at Lily, who was signing, "Please," over and over with exaggerated motions, then at Jack, whose eyes held no pity, only genuine interest. She nodded, and for the first time in years, the prospect of next Sunday filled her with anticipation rather than dread. The following week, Emma arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early, her stomach fluttering with nerves. She'd spent the week alternating between excitement and anxiety, nearly convincing herself several times that Jack had only invited her out of politeness and wouldn't actually show up. But at precisely noon, the cafe door opened, and Lily bounded in, her curls bouncing with each step. Jack followed, scanning the room until his eyes found Emma. The smile that spread across his face chased away her doubts. To Emma's surprise, Jack didn't immediately reach for his phone to type. Instead, he set down his laptop, took a deep breath, and signed a somewhat clumsy but perfectly understandable, "Hello, Emma. Good to see you." Emma's hands flew to her mouth in astonishment. Lily giggled and signed, "Hello," as well, with the exaggerated movements of a child proud of a new skill. "You learned to sign?" Emma signed back slowly, making sure her movements were clear. Jack nodded, his expression a mixture of concentration and pride. He signed, "Little bit. Learning." Then he switched to his phone. "I've been practicing all week with an app. Lily's better at it than I am already." Something warm unfurled in Emma's chest. No one had ever made this effort for her before, not friends, not colleagues, not even past boyfriends. They'd always expected her to adapt to their world, to read lips, to struggle through noisy environments, to accept being partially excluded from conversations. "Thank you," she signed, emotion making her fingers tremble slightly. "That means a lot." Jack's smile deepened, revealing that dimple again. "I wanted to surprise you," he typed. "Lily hasn't stopped talking about you all week." As if to confirm this, Lily tugged at Emma's sleeve and proudly showed her a drawing she'd made, 3 stick figures holding hands, 1 small, 2 tall. "Family," she signed, pointing to each figure in turn. "Lily, Daddy, Emma." Emma felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She signed, "Beautiful," to Lily, who beamed with pride. Over coffee and pastries, Jack explained that he was an environmental scientist working on river conservation projects. He'd moved to town after Caroline died, needing a fresh start for both himself and Lily. The weekend work was for a grant proposal due the following week. Emma told him about her job as a graphic designer, working remotely for a company in the city. She showed them some of her sketches: the river at sunset, the old bridge, the cafe itself captured in soft pencil strokes. "These are amazing," Jack typed, genuine admiration in his eyes. "You see details others miss." "Being deaf makes you notice visual things more," Emma replied. "It's like my eyes try to compensate for what my ears can't do." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "Like a superpower." Emma laughed. No one had ever framed her deafness that way before. As weeks turned into months, their Sunday cafe meetings became a cherished ritual. Jack's signing improved steadily, and Lily became nearly fluent with the natural adaptability of children. They expanded beyond the cafe: walks by the river, visits to the children's museum, movie nights at Jack's cozy house where they watched films with captions. Emma found herself looking forward to weekends with an intensity that sometimes frightened her. She caught herself daydreaming about Jack's dimpled smile during work calls, about Lily's infectious laughter that she could see but not hear. One Sunday in early December, they sat in their usual corner of the cafe, now decorated with twinkling lights and garlands for the holidays. Lily was coloring intently, her tongue poking out in concentration, while Jack and Emma discussed Christmas plans. "We always go to my parents' for Christmas Eve," Jack signed, his movements now fluid and confident. "Would you like to join us this year?" Emma froze, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. Meeting family was a significant step, one that acknowledged their relationship had grown beyond casual friendship. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. "Are you sure?" she signed. "I don't want to intrude on family traditions." Jack's expression softened. "You wouldn't be intruding. My parents already feel like they know you from all I've told them." And Lily would be ecstatic. As if sensing she was being discussed, Lily looked up from her coloring. "Please come, Emma," she signed. "Grandma makes the best cookies, and Grandpa has a train that goes around the Christmas tree." Emma laughed, her heart full. "How can I say no to that?" Jack's smile was radiant, but there was something else in his eyes, a question, a possibility. He reached across the table and took her hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm. "There's something else I wanted to ask you," he signed, his movements suddenly less confident. "Would you? I mean, I was wondering if..." Emma waited, her heart pounding. Jack rarely struggled for words, in sign or otherwise. He took a deep breath and tried again. "These past months have been the happiest Lily and I have had in a long time. And it's because of you, Emma." Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. "You've made me happy too," she signed back. Jack nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "What I'm trying to ask is, would you consider this a date? Not just today, but all our Sundays? Because I'd very much like them to be." The world seemed to still around them. Emma looked at Jack's hopeful expression, at Lily happily coloring beside them, oblivious to the moment's significance. She thought about how they'd entered her life 3 months ago, bringing light and connection to her solitary existence. "I'd like that too," she signed, her hands steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Very much." Jack's smile was like sunrise breaking across his face. He leaned forward, hesitated for a moment, then pressed a gentle kiss to her cheek. Even Lily looked up and giggled, signing, finally, with dramatic emphasis. As they left the cafe that day, walking through light snowfall with Lily between them, their joined hands swinging, Emma realized something profound had shifted. For the first time since losing her hearing, she didn't feel alone in a crowded world. She had found her people, or rather, they had found her, on a lonely Sunday when she'd gathered the courage to ask if she could join them. Spring arrived with a burst of green along the riverbank. Emma sat on a bench watching Jack and Lily skip stones across the water's surface, their laughter visible in the way their shoulders shook and heads tilted back. 6 months had passed since that first cafe encounter, and Emma still sometimes marveled at how completely her life had transformed. Jack turned and caught her watching them. He signed, "What are you thinking about? You look serious." Emma smiled and signed back, "Just thinking about how lucky I am that you two were willing to share your table that day." Jack walked over and sat beside her, his arms sliding naturally around her shoulders. "I think we're the lucky ones," he signed. "Right, Lily?" Lily nodded enthusiastically, her signing now as natural as her speech. "Emma makes the best pancakes and knows all the dinosaur names and draws the prettiest pictures," she signed rapidly. Emma laughed and pulled Lily into a hug. Over the child's curly head, she met Jack's gaze, finding in it the same wonder and gratitude she felt. Later that evening, after Lily had been tucked into bed with a story signed by both adults, Jack and Emma sat on his porch swing, watching fireflies begin to appear in the gathering dusk. "I have something to ask you," Jack signed, his expression suddenly serious. Emma nodded, giving him her full attention. "Lily's school is having a career day next month. Parents come in and talk about their jobs." He paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. "Lily asked if you would come and talk about being a graphic designer. And about being deaf." Emma blinked in surprise. "Me? But I'm not her parent." Jack's hands stilled for a moment. Then he signed, "You're important to her. To us. You're family now, Emma." The word family made Emma's heart swell. She thought about how lonely she'd been before meeting them, how she'd accepted isolation as her inevitable lot in life. "I'd be honored," she signed. "But won't the other children have trouble understanding me?" Jack smiled. "That's the best part. Lily's whole class has been learning basic sign language this semester. Their teacher has a deaf cousin and thought it would be valuable. Lily's the star pupil, of course." Emma felt tears well in her eyes. "A whole class learning to sign?" Jack nodded. "The world is changing, Emma. Slowly, maybe, but it is. And Lily will grow up knowing that differences like yours aren't barriers, they're just different ways of experiencing the world." Emma leaned into his embrace, overwhelmed with emotion. From feeling perpetually alone, she had somehow found not just acceptance but celebration of who she was. "I love you," she signed against his chest, the first time she'd expressed the words that had been growing in her heart for months. Jack tilted her chin up so she could see his response. "I love you too," he signed, then spoke the words as well, knowing she could read them on his lips. As they sat together in the gentle spring evening, Emma thought about the courage it had taken to approach their table that day, to sign those simple words, "I'm alone. Can I join you?" Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit your loneliness and reach for connection. Sometimes a simple question can change everything. The following year, on a crisp autumn Sunday exactly like the one when they'd first met, Jack brought Emma back to Riverside Café. The same corner table was reserved with a small, reserved sign, something Emma found curious since they'd never needed reservations before. Lily was unusually excited, practically bouncing in her seat. When Emma asked what was going on, both father and daughter just exchanged mysterious smiles. After their usual order of coffee and hot chocolate arrived, Jack signed, "Do you remember exactly what you signed to us that first day?" Emma thought back. "I'm alone. Can I join you?" Jack nodded, his eyes soft with memory. "That question changed our lives." "Mine too," Emma signed. Jack took a deep breath. "I have a question for you now." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emma's hands flew to her mouth. "You joined our table that day. Would you join our family forever?" He opened the box to reveal a delicate ring with a small emerald, the color of the river that flowed through their town and their story. Lily was signing rapidly, say yes, her entire body vibrating with excitement. Through tears, Emma signed, "Yes. 1,000 times yes." As Jack slipped the ring onto her finger, the cafe around them erupted in applause, a visual celebration that Emma could fully appreciate. She looked up to see that many of the customers were actually their friends, all signing "congratulations" with. As Jack slipped the ring onto her finger, the cafe around them erupted in applause, a visual celebration that Emma could fully appreciate. She looked up to see that many of the customers were actually their friends, all signing "congratulations" with varying degrees of skill but unmistakable enthusiasm. The cafe owner, Mrs. Chen, who had watched their relationship blossom every Sunday for a year, brought out a small cake with "She said yes" written in elegant script. Lily clapped her hands in delight, proud to have kept the secret. "You planned all this?" Emma signed to Jack, overwhelmed by the gesture. He nodded, his eyes shining. "I wanted to ask you in the place where it all began. Where you found the courage to reach out, and we found the wisdom to welcome you in." Emma looked around at the smiling faces, friends she'd made through Jack, colleagues who had learned basic signing to communicate with her, neighbors who now greeted her with both spoken words and signs. A community that had formed around their unexpected connection. "From one table to a lifetime," she signed, her fingers trembling slightly with emotion. Jack pulled her close and kissed her, Lily squeezing between them in a family embrace that needed no words, spoken or signed. 3 years later, Emma stood in the doorway of their riverside home, watching Jack push their 6-month-old son in a swing while Lily, now 8, practiced cartwheels on the lawn. The baby, named Thomas after Emma's father, gurgled happily as the swing moved back and forth. From the moment Thomas was born, both Jack and Lily had used sign language with him, ensuring he would grow up bilingual, fluent in both spoken English and ASL, able to communicate fully with his mother in either mode. Emma's design business had flourished, specializing in accessible communication materials. Jack's environmental work had expanded to include advocacy for accessibility in nature preserves and parks. Together, they were building a world where differences were bridges rather than barriers. As Emma stepped onto the porch, Jack looked up and signed, "There's my beautiful wife," his face lighting up as it still did every time he saw her. Lily ran over, signing rapidly about her day at school, where she was now part of a sign language club she had helped establish. Thomas reached for Emma, his tiny hands already forming rudimentary signs for "Mama" and "Up." Emma gathered her son in her arms, feeling the vibration of his laughter against her chest. She caught Jack's eye over Thomas's head and signed with one hand, "Did you ever imagine this that day in the cafe?" Jack shook his head, signing back, "I couldn't have dreamed something this perfect." As the sun set over the river, casting golden light across their yard, Emma reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a lonely woman gathering courage to approach a stranger's table, to this, a family bound not by conventional communication but by love that had found its own language. She thought of all the people who might be watching this story unfold, people who felt isolated, different, separated from connection by barriers that seemed insurmountable. She wished she could tell them that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit your loneliness. Sometimes the most life-changing question is the simplest, "I'm alone. Can I join you?" And sometimes, the answer to that question can transform everything. The video ends with a shot of Emma, Jack, Lily, and baby Thomas sitting on their porch swing, signing, "Thank you for watching," together, their faces alight with genuine happiness. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to our channel. Remember that connection can begin with a simple gesture, and understanding doesn't always require words. Share this video to remind someone that they're not alone, and that family can be found in the most unexpected moments of courage.